Well, listen, Mark, listen, hold on. When I say, would you have caffeine today?
What the hell is that up to with anything?
How much coffee did you drink before the show?
Listen, you can't polish a sneaker, right? throw tomatoes at me, do whatever you're going to do.
Welcome into Corso Catone. See, Joe, I'm already jumping on you. The real deal New England feel. And I'm joined, as always, by Mark Catone. Your calls, chats, tweets, any way you can to get in touch with us. 855-313-PATS, 855-313-7287. We want to hear from you. And listen, give us that thumbs up, subscribe. We want as many of you out there to listen to the pearls that Mark's going to present tonight and every night. And in the booth, we're joined, as always, by Joe Guarnieri. He's presenting all this, as you see now. And Joe, listen, at some point, let's get that banner on the bottom of the screen. Show the people how they can come right into the show. We want to hear from you, want to see you, talk with you. Mark, listen, and we're, of course, talking about the Patriots right now. What else? They are in camp.
Would there be anything else to lead with? Really?
Hey, well, we've been telling the people for 2 weeks, hey, listen, weeks and weeks, training camp's coming, it's coming. Well, here it is. We're in day 6 today. Today's full padded practice today. There's all kinds of overreactions going on around the New England area. And, of course, we're probably no different. But, Mark, listen.
No, we don't overreact ever.
Listen, we are the real deal. You're going to get it here, and you're going to get it right in this place. So, listen, we'll get to the padded practice. But, this is 5 days of practice, about, 6 days today, but about a week in. So what are your impressions? I mean, we'll get to Cam Jones, Cam Newton, Mac Jones. We'll get to that. We got something on that. But just generally with the team, what are your impressions before we got to the padded day?
Chris, I think the defense is going to be vastly improved. I think between the linebackers and some of the speed that they added on the edges. The kid they picked up was Judon from Baltimore. From all reports, the kid is going to be a player. I mean, he's everything that Belichick, I think, thought he was going to be. So I'm really excited to see what that defense looks like. And I think, Chris, it sounds like to me that the kid Uche is growing by leaps and bounds every practice. I mean, I think he's going to be somebody they're going to have all over the field. So I'm really excited about the defense, Chris. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, and listen, I heard an interview with Uche the other morning, a couple of days ago. He's saying all the right things, of course. He's bought into that Patriot way. I mean, we're going to get better every day. I'm trying to get better every day. But yeah, Mark, I've been hearing the same thing. Obviously, we don't have the luxury of being there and seeing it ourselves. But we know a lot of you are out there. That's why we want to hear from you. But again, the defense is shining right now. And to be fair to the offense, it does take a while. When you get into these situations, you're starting camp, it takes a while, Mark, for the offense to catch on,
Plus, we have so many new parts to the offense, Chris. It might even take, it's going to take a little bit of time for them to adjust and to get into the flow, right?
Yeah, even at the running back spot. I mean, we know we have the wide receivers and tight ends, of course. But even at the running back spot, there's different things happening right now, and we'll see. But, Mark, kicking over to that, to what you talked about, the defense, I'm starting to think, the strength of this team for the last several years has been the secondary.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something. The front seven,
that might change.
It may change. I mean, there are guys, like you say, Judon, that's a guy, Uche. And then we talked about this, that it's freeing up a lot of these guys to be who they are. Winovich, he could become more of a specialist. I mean, Hightower coming back, how that helps that front seven is – you can't. It's hard to measure something like that, right?
No, he just brings intangibles, Chris. He brings leadership. He's getting guys, telling guys where they should be, where they shouldn't be, where to line up, where not to line up. You didn't have that last year. Well, I shouldn't say that. Of course, your man Bentley, who you loved last year, Bentley, he was
Bentley
doing
had a
all
pick
of those
today.
things. Wasn't he doing all those things?
I think Bentley had the pick today.
Bentley. Bentley,
Max.
Chris, I mean, I know we beat up on that poor kid a lot last year, but Chris, you know what? He's a backup. He's somebody who can come into the rotation and give Hightower a breather, right? But Hightower is going to be the captain on that defense, along with Devin McCourty. But Hightower, I think, is really going to help those young guys out. Even Anthony Jennings, Chris, they said has made strides, and I think that's attributed to Hightower as well.
The guy that they talked about is having a great camp too is Barmore. Now he got dinged up a little bit today, but he's having a good camp too.
Yeah, I hope he's not one of those rookies, Chris. He gets dinged up and you don't see him for 3 weeks, because then that finishes you for the season in our system, right? You got to stay on the field.
He didn't leave the field.
Okay,
he didn't return to drills, but he didn't leave the.
All right, we'll have to keep an eye on him. We'll have to keep an eye on him.
But yeah, Mark, the front seven. I mean, it's allowing guys. See, the thing is, it's allowing guys that are young, these young guys, to develop. Bringing Van Noy back and having Hightower back. It's like basically having a new player on the team now.
Yeah,
this is allowing Judon, guys that are experienced pros. Guy, bringing him back. This is a situation where some of the younger guys like Perkins, Barmore, Uche, even because he's young. Even Winovich is still, what's it, year 3 for him. So
this is a make or break year for him, Chris.
It is. Jennings, another guy. It is allowing these guys to develop and maybe limit the scope of what they do, right? And ask them to do the things they can do at this stage. And that's Belichick's famous for that. Asking guys to do the things they can do.
Let me ask you a question. For them to be competitive, and I think to have a playoff team and the fight for this division, which I think they're going to fight for the division. I'm not ready I'm not going to hand this division off to the Buffalo Bills this year. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, because you know that I've never been a big proponent of Josh Allen. I understand people love him. They think he's going to be an MVP candidate. I understand all that.
Should have won the first game last year.
Right? Shouldn't have. But
should have split.
I'm just still not sold on him. But I think, Chris, and you could disagree, as you always do, I think we have the potential to be a top 10 defense.
No, I don't disagree with that.
Right?
I don't disagree with that at all.
I think we do, Chris.
Gilmore, listen, and because Gilmore's going to get right, which again, and you talked about guys that had to play out of position. I agree with the top 10. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. There'll be plenty of other stuff for me to disagree with you on. But
Joe,
probably,
we know that, Joe. He can't control himself, Joe.
Probably in this show too, but the one. Yeah, you know what? But the one thing that you mentioned too was talking about guys playing out of position, guys having to do things last year they don't normally do. There's no greater example of that on this team than Phillips. I mean, Adrian Phillips, and to me, Mark, one of the strengths of this team, if you want to say it's going to be the front seven, but I think now is the safety spot. And we were concerned about the safety spot. They haven't drafted one there. Well, look, Adrian Phillips is having a fantastic camp because now he's back at his natural position where he should be,
Chris,
where he should have been.
I think he can do some of the things that Harrison used to do back there.
Listen, people forget Phillips what he did in San Diego.
He was an all-pro, right?
He was an all-pro in San Diego. I don't know about all-pro, but he was a Pro Bowler.
He was a Pro Bowler. Sure. He was a Pro Bowler.
And so if he can get back to that form. And Duggar is another guy that they're saying is making strides.
I think Doug is going to be all over the field this year.
That's the guy I feel like is going to be Rodney Harrison. That's the guy that I feel is going to bring the pop.
Okay.
And he's going to get lateral. He's going to get across the field. I don't know how he'll be in coverage too much. Okay.
And he don't have to be. If they use him correctly, Chris, he doesn't have to.
So, and then you bring the vet back on the field and he's running, McCourty's running the show out there. And that's what you want him for. That's what he's there for. He doesn't have to make every play, but his presence is monstrous.
His presence is monstrous. Yeah, it is.
And Jalen Mills. You bring Jalen Mills on to play
Mills
safety.
Is coming along slowly, Chris. I think he struggled a bit at the beginning of camp. You weren't hearing him even being on the field much, but he's been getting on the field more and more every day now. Like with the starters. He's been getting run with the starters, where I think he wasn't earlier in camp.
No, he's a chess piece.
Yeah,
he's going to be one of those guys. Now, again, you need Gilmore back. I'm saying that I don't think last week we talked about, they're anointing him as the best player on this team. I haven't seen that. I didn't see that last year, and I'm waiting to see. Remember last week we talked about the fact that people were saying automatically Gilmore is the best player on this team. There's things to be seen still, but he's going to get back on the field. He'll side up with J.C. Jackson. That's a damn good secondary, Mark. That's a damn good secondary. And listen, you couple that with that front seven, yeah, Mark. I'm sorry, that's top 10.
That's the piece, though. Like you had mentioned it earlier, because the front seven is going to be so much better, Chris. It's going to make our backside even stronger. If we thought that was the strength of the team before, it's going to be even stronger, because think about it. They ain't going to have time to. If we can do what the front seven should do this year, imagine Jackson and Gilmore on the edges, shutting guys down, and now a quarterback's not going to have time for. They're not going to have the time to sit.
You're more comfortable. See, the cool thing about that, and hey, by the way, Joe, we are the real deal, and you know how you could tell who starts with the defense. Who starts? What kind of diehard?
You, because you're a degenerate defensive player. Degenerate. That's why.
Listen, Mark, you can't be more right about this.
About you being a degenerate defensive player. Well, yeah, I'm right.
The degenerate part. Yeah, I could. It's clear as. But no, Mark, honestly, your assessment of that front seven and what they can do for the back end. Listen. They like to run zero look. And you know how much I love that. I love pressure. Now, I don't know if Patricia's going to I don't know if he's going to screw that up coming in here now.
I'm honest with you. I don't know
I haven't heard much from him.
I was going to say to you, Chris, I don't know how much Patricia's going to have to say with the day-to-day play calling. I think he's there as almost as a consultant. I think he's there to advise. I think he's there to give big picture ideas in the defense. I think he's there to give some assessments on individual players. But it's almost like he's going to have a hybrid role, Chris, where he's going to be doing a lot of different things. You remember back in free agency, he was out negotiating contracts and working with salary cap. So I don't think Patricia's going to be on the sidelines with the clipboard doing the X's and O's on the defense, Chris. I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be, Chris.
Yeah, you're probably right. And I hope you're right, because to me, they're building this team. Uche, Winovich, Judon, okay, even Jennings. Okay, these guys are going to get to the quarterback. I mean, think about what you're talking about. You've inserted Van Noy and Hightower in place of Bentley and Simon. Come on. I mean,
No, but who was the other guy, Chris? I forget his name. You loved him.
Don't
too.
talk about Hall.
Hall. That's it. Hall. I couldn't remember his name.
I haven't heard him at all from camp. I haven't heard a word.
I think he's hurt.
Well,
I think he's going to end up on IR. No, I think he's going to end up on IR.
Well, like Mark, who said, the front seven, I want to get to the offense because of the offensive line.
But, Chris, he's going to be able to do things with that front seven, and I hate to go back in time. I'm going to show my age. Belichick's going to be able to do things he used to do with the Giants. Remember when they had Carson and they had Taylor and they had Banks and they had Reasons? They had those guys in the front. They had Martin and Marshall. He's going to have a front seven that he's going to be able to do things with, just like him and Parcells did with the Giants.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. They don't have a Lawrence Taylor, but you get what I mean.
You can even go further forward and go to the 03, 04 in that range where they had that defense was fantastic, where they peeled off that 21 in a row winning streak. Listen, when you can run that zero look like they used to do against Manning, like they do against Mahomes, when you can run that disguise and you don't know where they're coming from, and that's a pressure, you got to play man. You got to be able to play man coverage, and you got to play it well. And once Gilmore gets back on that field, they should be able to play man coverage as good as any secondary in the league, Mark.
Look at the garbage front seven they had last year, Chris, and they were right in that game against Kansas City.
They were 6-3 going into the fourth quarter.
They were right in that game. We had nobody. They had no one at the quarterback position, or we should have won that game. Think about that, and think about how much better we are in the front seven this year. It's granted we're not going to play Kansas City this year unless we go to the playoffs, but still.
Well, look and listen. It's day 6. We'll temper it. I understand that, but the talent's the talent, and Judon is a bigger pickup than people think. And he may end up being the best player on that defense. So,
Chris, and I'm going to tell you something, because of the vast improvement of that front seven, it's going to, you mark my words, it works to our advantage. that we don't play Kansas City this year, because the first time he'd have to face our new front seven and new configured defense would be in a playoff game. So he'll never get a look at them until a playoff game. You can watch it on tape, but then when you see it live in action in a playoff game, you know how different that is, Chris. So that would work to our advantage.
It's the first time, and not to get off track, but it's the first time Belichick has been in the situation in a long time where he's been in the situation where we're not playing all the division winners here.
Yes.
So we're not, you're going to, what you see in the playoffs, if they get that far, what you see in the playoffs is first time. Deal with the Tennessee, deal with the Kansas City.
You've never seen it live. You've never seen it live.
Buffalo,
and you're right, Chris. Buffalo will, but you're right, Chris. That's going to be a huge advantage if we get that far, obviously.
Right. And switch it to the other side of the ball, Mark. Another position group that's a battle right now is running back. Now, Damian Harris is going to be. He's going to be starting. This is your starting.
He's running back one. Yeah,
James White.
Absolutely.
James White is that guy. That
Taylor's going to get some play, Chris.
But see, the thing about Taylor, listen, with James White, his role is going to get a little more limited this year because of his age. You could start to see it last year. He dealt with a lot of off-field issues last year emotionally, so I get that. But James White, the Burkhead role,
it's going to be Taylor.
I hate what I'm about to say. Okay, I hate what I'm about to say.
Don't say Sonny Michel.
No, I'm not saying Sonny Michel. I hate more what I'm about to say. But Bolden has been the guy.
Joe, kill his mic. Joe, kill his mic. Please, Joe, kill it.
We're going to the Catone show now.
Yes, we're going to go to the Catone show. That's it.
That's all right. At some point, you're going to end up giving Roberts on the defense and in the pass some from props, and then I'll nail you for that. But I'm not saying I like him there. I'm saying that that's where he's getting the reps there over J.J. Taylor right now.
Why though, Chris?
Well, Belichick loves this guy. He's a Belichick guy. He's a versatile guy. He's a special teams guy. Okay, he's a guy that plays special teams, and Belichick covets that over. And you're going to see it in the receiver position too. I mean, you're going to see guys come on this team because of their Williams.
Chris Taylor has a gear that the rest of them don't have. You remember him last year? He had a gear where he could accelerate. I don't know. I would definitely try to use Taylor.
Listen, to me, okay, I with you. Taylor's going to make this team, and the odd man out, I'm sorry, is Sonny Michel. But he's a guy that can back up. I don't think because they're not going to keep 5 backs, Mark.
Chris, what about the rookie? I haven't heard his name once. The kid from Oklahoma.
Well, that's the other thing too. I mean,
is he somebody who ends up with one of those miraculous injuries that Belichick's famous for with rookies, and he goes on the PUP or the IR, and then they redshirt him for a year?
It could be, but I one of those guys is making that team. So that's and I want to move on, but because
he'll redshirt the kid from Oklahoma. He's not going to cut him. I mean, obviously he'll redshirt him.
And that's again, I think one of those guys. That guy's making that team. I mean, he's making the team. So
because what was he, a 3rd round draft pick, Chris?
Yeah, exactly. He's again, Sonny Michel, get rid of him. In my opinion, get rid of him. And we're going to talk more about wide receivers, I think, and when we get to Mac Jones and we'll talk about that. But the last thing I want to talk about is the offensive line. Mark, to me, you could talk about the defense, you could talk about everything else. This is the strength of this team. Well, look, the two fronts are the strength of this team. This offensive line, with Andrews back, Shaq Mason's having a fantastic camp right now. He's tearing it up. Okay, and he was a guy that was, kind of on the play as well.
Yeah, and you know what, Chris? I'll be honest with you, and you know what really aggravates me, Chris, and you know this as a defensive coach yourself, and just a football coach and someone who's played football. So I've been reading in the first 4 or 5 days of camp all this stuff about the offensive and defensive line, and I get all that, right? But you can't tell, Chris, what these guys are going to give you on the offensive line until they really put the pads on and have to really get into the flow and move and do different things with pads on and really hit somebody and then move, right? When you're in shorts and a t-shirt, it's a little bit different. So I'm interested to see how a couple of these guys actually, what they show now that they got the actual pads on, and you're actually going to see a real scheming and real offensive line play. How do they look? Because they're going to get a challenge by this defense. That's for damn sure.
Well, they look pretty damn good. They look pretty damn good today.
That's what I'm saying.
They
That's
look
what I'm
really good
interested in
today
seeing.
in the
I
padded,
take,
first
I
padded
take what I
practice
say
today.
without the pads with a grain of salt, Chris, sometimes, because you know how that is. Without the
Right.
pads, it's different, right?
But
Especially in the trenches.
In pads today, and we'll get to some of what they look like. But Shaq Mason looked good. The offensive line looked good. And Mark, listen, they're going to have to look good. They're going to have to look good because right now there's a quarterback battle. There's a QB battle.
I don't know. Yeah, I got a few things to say about that. A few things to say about that because I'm a little disgusted. I got a few things to say.
Well, listen.
That's it.
And Joe, that's perfect. Perfect
I love
timing,
that,
Joe. Joe, that's perfect timing to get into this battle because that's what this is. This is a QB battle right now, and you're gonna hate Mark. You're gonna hate hearing this. Of course, you are. But Cam Newton right now is edging this kid out. And today, more than any other time today. I mean, this right now through 6 practices. Okay, at first, and you and I talked about this, off air. Some we talked about how Mac Jones has a grasp of things. He's smart, he gets it, he understands it, and so on and so forth. As the week went on, you started to see Cam Newton become more and more accurate, getting the ball out on time, as was Jones. Getting the ball out on time, hitting the reads. Reading that defense well, again, in shorts and helmets, and I get that. But he was working with his receivers, he was working really well with the tight ends, which was what the hope was when those guys were brought in, right? So now you got the flip. So again, I'll take Cam Newton right now and talk about him. Yeah, so he's showing a much better understanding of the offense. Okay, the run base today when they went into pads. They did a lot of running. That's when you saw the running game really take shape, start to come to the forefront because now we're in pads. And Newton ran the ball a couple of times. He was on time with things. He was sharp running that offense. He seems to have a better grasp coming into this camp clearly than he did last camp, and his arm looks much better. He's hitting guys in stride. He threw one into the ground today, okay, but he's hitting guys in stride. And Belichick's flat out saying this is our starter. So Mark, you take Mac Jones right now. I mean, what are you seeing out of him that's going to say, hey, you know what? He's knocking him off.
So, Chris, here's the thing, right? So he's a rookie, right? So obviously Newton better have a better grasp of the offense at this point than Newton. He's been there for over a year now. So he should have a better grasp of the offense and what's going on. I mean, I think Jones has done a fantastic job trying to absorb as much as he could possibly absorb. In the short period of time that he's been there. And I think he's been complimented for that by players and by even by Belichick and by Josh McDaniels. But my thing is this, Chris. Here's my big thing. Okay, so you don't so Newton's QB1. Belichick has said that. Okay, fine. So he becomes your starter. Fine.
We gotta call them starters. QB1, it's like fantasy football. Yeah. All
right, he's the starter. That make you happy? He's the starter, Joe. That's gonna make him happy. He's the starter.
Fantasy football crap.
Okay,
that's where you get the QB
starter today.
Okay, he's the starter. You're showing your age, Chris. Everybody's into fantasy football. They understand QB1. You know what I mean?
Go ahead.
So, anyways, he's the starter. Now, what happens, Chris, when you start out 1-2? And now the big boy's coming in week 4, the big boy. What are you going to do with Cam Newton? Like, because Belichick, he's the starter. He's going to be there for 16 weeks no matter what. Because that's his decision, and he's going to prove that he was right. And now you, for whatever reason, say you don't make the playoffs. Now what happens? So you wasted the 15th pick in the draft on a kid that you had no intent of ever starting. You brought Newton back. He's playing well. I'll believe Newton's playing well, Chris, when I watch him in live action against another team. And I want to see him because nobody can see what he's doing. Well, listen to all these fanboys that are at training camp. I want to see it with my own eyes because you know me. I got to see. I don't care what I read. I want to see it with my own eyes, and I want to see if he really is any different than he was last year. He may have a better grasp of the offense and understand where the ball's going to go, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's able to make the throws that he has to make, right? But anyways, so but one more thing. So my thing is this, Chris. Okay, so you drafted this kid 15th in the draft. You're going to let him sit. Newton's going to be the starter. Newton struggles a bit. My belief is Belichick, based on what it's looking like now, Belichick will stick with him as long as he can stick with him. Maybe you end up 10-7. What are they playing? 17 games this year. Maybe you end up 10-7. Maybe you end up 11-6. Maybe you sneak into the playoffs. Maybe you don't. Or maybe it's not playoffs. I don't know, Chris. Right? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. So now, what does that mean going forward for this franchise? What do? You're just going to roll back with Newton and say year 2, another year, because he got you to the playoffs?
Well, look, there's a lot of assumptions in all this.
I know there is, but I'm just going by, they've basically handed this job to Newton. It looks like it's day 6 of practice, right? From everything you're listening to, even Belichick, he's our starter. Okay, he's our starter. So you've handed him the job already after games week 6, practice 6. Here's my prediction, Chris. Then I'm not going to speak. I'm going to let you speak on this. Here's my prediction. Newton starts. He sticks with him all season. You're not going to win with him at quarterback. And Bill Belichick won't be your coach next year because Bob Kraft is going to tell him, Bill, walk away gracefully, retire. We'll give you a nice package. Nobody will ever know what the package is. He's going to give the keys to McDaniels, and he's going to say, you make this kid our quarterback because McDaniels loves the kid to begin with. I'm telling you, him sticking with Newton and his stubbornness with Newton is going to be the end of Bill Belichick's career in New England because Kraft already showed Chris he had enough of the garbage. He told him, you go get me goddamn free agents that can play because that wasn't Belichick's style. And he also told him, you go draft me a quarterback. Belichick wouldn't have taken him with the 15th pick. Kraft said, you draft me a quarterback. And he drafted him a quarterback. That's what the owner wanted. And when this is over, the owner's going to say, you stuck with Newton. He's gone and you're gone. You're retiring because now I'm giving the keys to the young guy, the young kid McDaniels, and the young quarterback, and they're going to roll into the future. That's my prediction, Chris. If he sticks with Newton for 16 games.
That assumes one, that their record was not 10-7 and 11-6 or 11-6. That's first. And two, that so the record was sub that, which I believe if they're going that way, I think Jones gets on the field. And two, that assumes that we draft a quarterback at 15, and that means automatically he's going to walk on the field and start. Kraft may have bought into that already. He may have bought into this needs to be a process with this guy to get this guy on the field. He's our future. He's not our present. Let's treat it as such. So if Kraft's buying into that now, then what the hell is he going to fire him for at the end of the year because they lose? So, I mean, it assumes a lot as to what the hell's going to happen. But again, that's what we're here to do. Look, and let me say this too. I'm of the opinion that Cam's going to start the season. I thought that. I've been thinking that all along. I get excited over the tidbits and things that Jones is doing, and I'm excited hopefully for the future. But, I'm not going to overreact to 1 for 6 today with 1 pick, which was what Mac Jones' numbers were. 1 for 6, 1 pick, and he looked ugly. He didn't look good in practice today when we were first full pass. No more than I'm going to overreact to 5 of 7 with a touchdown. With 1 or 2 touchdowns, 1 to the tight end, Cam Newton, and 1 to Aguilar, which is nice to see. Okay, neither one. Now you got to understand, in my opinion, neither one, and I haven't seen them with my own eyes either, but neither one seemed to look. It's like a C and a D, a C plus, C minus. Like we're not talking A to B here yet with either one of them. Okay, and that. So I mean, that's something to look at too. They're not. Both of them aren't performing all that well, and that's what's got people in New England panic because now the flagship, man. I mean, they're a freaking joke, Mark. I mean, they're sitting there saying, "Oh, okay." So, given what we saw today, one of 6 out of Jones with a pick. Oh, this is the potential where he could suck. He could be Chad Pennington. He could really suck. this is the potential, and Cam, but they're still on the idea Cam Newton can't throw a football. He's terrible. If you can't beat Cam Newton out for this job, then you stink. And they made a mistake at 15. I mean, they're going down this road already.
Well,
The
Chris,
moron.
listen,
Okay, and wait a minute, and they've brought so much so that they've brought Jimmy Garoppolo, and I know we're over, but I want to hear from you on this. They've brought Jimmy Garoppolo's name today back into the mix, basically saying San Fran is not happy right now with what they're seeing in Jimmy Garoppolo at camp, and Lance is lighting it up. And so he's got the roster guarantee where if he's on the San Francisco team on their active roster week 1, they've guaranteed he has to be paid $23 million. That's real. Okay. The idea out there is we got to release this guy. And now today we're hearing, well, if Mac Jones isn't going to be the guy and that was a mistake, Cam Newton sucks, is Jimmy Garoppolo still on the table here? Mark, if he sucks in San Francisco and can't beat Trey Lance out for the job, what the hell we want him for? What's the matter with these guys? Like, seriously?
Chris,
and this is after
Chris,
one day in pads. One.
Chris, listen, here's my thing. For two things. First, in regards to their comment about Jones. So they don't listen. The greatest quarterback to ever live, Tom Brady, his rookie season, Chris, by his own admission, was lost when he came with our system, lost. And he didn't truly understand it until he had an off season. And all he did was sleep and breathe the playbook and work on technique. And when he came back year 2, the first practice of the offseason, OTAs, everybody looked around and said, oh my God, is that the same quarterback? That's Brady? Because he did that in the offseason. He sucked his rookie season.
Well, then why the hell would you why would you fire Belichick if you give Jones the same chance?
Because he was sitting behind an all-pro quarterback and Bledsoe the year before. Cam Newton's got one arm, for Christ's sake.
And the money they paid him, too.
And the money. What kind of a question is that, Corso? What's the difference? Are you kidding me?
Kraft isn't going to remember that part of it, right?
Come on.
Well, look, Mark, listen.
So that's how stupid Murray is. That's how stupid those guys. Those guys in the flagship, Chris, I think they just say things to say it. I know it's a radio show. They're trying to get a rise out of people. But Jesus Christ, at least have an intelligent take, right? They're not even intelligent takes. I mean, come on.
Talk about overreactions.
And then the Garoppolo piece, Chris, right? Garoppolo. So here's my take on Garoppolo. If Belichick wanted Garoppolo back, I think he would have bit the bullet and he would have overpaid for him because San Francisco was dangling him out there. If somebody was willing to give them a package that would have knocked them out their socks off, they would have sent him to New England. And Belichick could have did that. He didn't have to draft Mac Jones. He could have gave him the multiple picks, got Garoppolo here in Newton, and then see who wins the starting job. And if it's Garoppolo, well, guess what? You're paying Newton peanuts anyways. You just release him. Let him go somewhere. And they didn't do that. So I think the ship has sailed on Garoppolo in New England. I think they made their decision. It's Newton this year, or maybe not. You draft a young quarterback. You build around him. Hopefully you pick the right guy because they could have traded up and took Fields because I liked Fields too. They didn't do that. So hopefully Jones was the guy that fell in their lap is the right guy. But my opinion, Chris, I think they've moved on from that Garoppolo ship. What do you think? I think that ship sailed.
Yeah, listen, the only path I see to have Garoppolo being on this team is he gets released, and now that contract means nothing to New England, and they bring him on.
If you get him for free,
with the two they have already, and really make it a battle. And I would think that was a path if the Colts weren't in the situation they're in right now with Wentz, because I foresee Garoppolo ending up on Indianapolis. You know. That's what I see happening. Mark, we'll end the segment.
Chris, I think by the end of this week, Nick Foles is going to be an Indianapolis Colt.
Yeah, I think so. You know what? There's another, because that's Reich's guy from Chicago. Yes. Yeah.
That's
you know what?
Guy.
You're right. And so if that happens, then there is a path to Garoppolo coming, but it would have to be a release and so on. We'll end the segment on this. I have to say this because I've been saying it for months and months and months. Okay. If it's me right now, today, and if what you're saying is true about Kraft, Belichick, all that crap, okay, I don't care if he gets on the commissioner's exempt list or whatever, the commissioner's bad boy list for a year or 6 game, whatever it is, okay, you put a deal together right now and you call Caserio and you say, look, we want We want Houston. Why am I blanking on the name?
Wake up! What is it? A COVID brain, Joe? Again? Come on!
Mix again.
Come on, help me out. Will you please for a change?
Watson.
You make the trade. You make the trade. You put something together. You put Mac Jones in the deal, and you go and get Watson like you should have done from the beginning. You got a 10-year starter. He's only a couple of years older than Jones. You bring him on this team. You play Cam Newton to however long it has to be until Watson's ready. Okay, the players will buy into it. The free agents next year will buy into it. Get this guy on your friggin' team. End it. Okay. And have your quarterback, who's a proven commodity and a top 5 goddamn quarterback in this league, put him on your team, stop screwing around, and become the New England Patriots again. Okay? So, our QB battle was brought to you by Special Sauce Podcast. Log on, specialsaucepodcast.com for all of those shows. Every one of them they do is inform them. It's helpful. They're just intelligent people over there. So specialsaucepodcast.com. Next week, we're going to be getting back into our QB battle. Of course, it will be until they decide.
Can you tell I'm not sold on Cam Newton?
No, I don't know. You know, obviously, tell us how you really feel. So when we come back, Mark, we're going to get into a little bit of Celtics. There's a lot going on with the Celtics right now, or actually, there's a lot not going on with the Celtics right now. And we're going to talk a little Olympics right after this.
Mark, I'm serious. I think I lost my mind.
Certainly, it was an exciting show.
I want Murray.
That's
it.
What is wrong with you?
Get him on this damn show.
You lost your mind tonight.
That's all I have to say.
Lost your mind.
What are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the real deal New England Field. It's going to be real.
Back in with more Corso and Catone. Joe, I got to stop doing that with the microphone. My God, you know, can you do a little better in our, pre-show meetings and things like that? God, man, you know, I'm blaming you for everything because that's just what I'm doing tonight.
You're ahead of the ship, you know, I'll take that.
There we go.
All right. So listen, Mark, and this is the buzz going on around New England right now. Everybody's, you know, people are really pissed off right now in New England. I mean, people are pissed about, we'll talk about the Red Sox in a little while, but people are pissed about the Celtics too. And I can't blame them, Mark. Like, what, you know, done for Thompson, Richardson from Dallas, when Dallas, all they wanted was a salary dump and we're taking their scraps. No Alonzo Ball. Mark, what's happening right now and why?
First of all, Danny Ainge should never, ever, ever show his face in this part of the country again, because what he did, Chris, in the last year with the moves he made. Okay, he screws up the whole Hayward situation. He screws up, right? Because he could have had players from Indiana for him. He got greedy, and then he screwed up signing trades. And then he does do a signing trade and gets a trade exemption for $30 million. And then he takes that $30 million and he goes and get this kid Fournier for what, 18 million. 18. He's a stiff, right? He was a stiff here. Maybe he'll be good somewhere else. He was a stiff here. Then you don't even try a sign and trade with him to get more exemption money back. So you blew the whole exemption that you were supposedly going to try to use to land some sort of a free agent this summer. So now this summer's off limits. So now
you knew they had no intention of keeping Fournier, but go ahead.
Of course they didn't. So now this summer's off limits. So now you're projecting to next summer. Maybe you better pray you can lure somebody next summer, because supposedly the books free up because you got all this dead money. Like we were talking earlier off camera, Chris, about the Kyrie Irving deals and this deal and that. All this crazy stuff he's done the last 2 or 3 years. All this stuff is on the books still, dead money. Well, now
All the picks are gone.
all the picks are gone. There's dead money on the books. You don't have any money to go get any of these free agents. Guys are signing everywhere. The Celtics are just sitting there with the same goddamn lineup. If anything, I think they're going to be worse, Chris. They're going to be worse.
Yeah. Look, I hate saying it.
Because the teams around them are getting better. So how are they going to win more games?
I hate saying it, and people don't want to hear it. But bridge year. I mean, that's the word that just keeps popping into my friggin' head, and I want to throw up.
But Chris, you have Tatum and Brown that you're paying all that money, and you're calling this a bridge year. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. Danny Ainge and the ownership, Chris, they ought to be ashamed of themselves that Danny Ainge was allowed to do this stupidity that he did, and now you got Brad Stevens in there who's going to supposedly clean it up. Really?
Butchered.
Yeah.
Oh. Listen, they butchered what went on from Kyrie. I agree with everything they did up to Kyrie. And you know what, Mark, at the time, getting Kyrie in, we didn't question that because he's a top, he was at the time, the top 5, top 10 player in the league. Yeah, you bring him in. That's going to be the piece. Horford, they had a good team. They were in the conference finals, 2 years in a row? Yep. So, I mean, the team was moving in the right direction, and then the bottom fell out because of that jerk, okay? And I put it on Kyrie, that jerk, okay? Because Ainge didn't want to kiss his ass, although he kissed his ass in the media. And then it all went downhill from there. So, listen, you're right. They had no intention of keeping Fournier and want to pay him that $18 million. I'm not saying that's an overpay for this guy. That's what he's getting, now with the Knicks. That's fine. I mean, I'm not saying they overpaid. It's just money they shouldn't have spent if now in the situation you're in now. Because, listen, Mark, there was an opportunity for this team. Okay, and he would have been a perfect fit for what they need. He's developed his shot. His three-point shot is much, much better. His assists are through the roof. Alonzo Ball. I was getting to that. Yep. Alonzo Ball. His assists are through the roof. He's a facilitator. He's exactly what this team, with those two guys, and you would have had him with Brown and Tatum, and now you put Alonzo Ball in the mix as your point guard. At least, maybe, Mark, maybe it's not. And what he got from the Knicks wasn't outrageous. He got like 21 million.
He went to Chicago, didn't he?
Chicago, I'm sorry. What Chicago gave him, which is roughly around $21 million a year.
Chris,
that's not out of bounds.
Chris, you might have been able to swing that this year anyways, with the trade exemption. Yeah. But they did away with the goddamn trade exemption because they wasted it on Fournier.
Well, Mark, this is the whole thing. This is what I'm saying. So you pass basically, or you don't make a play for a guy that clearly keeps your best guys interested. And maybe it is still a bridge year, and maybe you're not going to win it all, but you're going to make the playoffs. You're going to sniff around with Alonzo Ball. And then I buy into let's develop our second, third guy. Let's develop our second tier guys to now when we get the third guy, when we go after Beal, okay. And Mark, by the way, everybody's coming on board now. The real deal, New England feel. Everybody's coming on board with what you've been saying for 8 months about Beal. Okay, so now that's it. That's the saving grace. So now you don't do Ball. You don't get him on this team. Okay, you have no point guard. Marcus Smart, okay, is going to play point guard for this team, and yeah, he's in a contract year. I get it, but he's all of a sudden
Chris, they're reaching out. Supposedly they're talking to Isaiah Thomas. Can you imagine they're going to bring him back? That's where we're at, Chris. That's where we're at. We're talking to Isaiah Thomas.
And that's how you know they've screwed the pooch on this whole thing, Danny Ainge, and Mark is right. If Isaiah Thomas comes walking back through this door, you've come full circle. And yes, you have Tatum and you have Brown. But I told you before, Tatum is not that guy. He's not Garnett. He's not the guy that's going to push and bust balls. He's not that guy. Okay, he needs another guy like that.
Not even Pierce. Okay. Not yet.
Here's the other problem too. First you have to sell. You have to sell Tatum. And I'm going to talk about, but the other, bringing Ball in, you would have been able to see a real facilitator with Brown and Tatum, and now you can make a decision on what you want to do with Brown. Listen, and you could decide, I want to, because now you're in a situation where if you put all your eggs into this Beal basket, if they don't if they don't bring him in next season, if they don't land him, here's some of the other names on the list for next year. Curry. Is Curry going anywhere?
Nope.
No. Kemba Walker.
No, we're not taking him back.
Durant, who thinks the entire city is racist.
He's never coming here.
Randall and Levine, who I know you like.
Levine, I like. The Knicks are never going to let Randall go. Levine, you never know. You could, but you're going to have to ante up some serious cash for Levine, which I don't know if they.
Kyrie's available too.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Kyrie can go in the gutter and play for pennies and nickels.
So
Listen,
Mark,
I'm going to tell you something.
Beal, what happens? Tatum's gone.
He's gone. Soon as him and Brown can get out of here, they're out of here. They won't stay here. They're going to stay here for what? They're wasting their careers away. They're not going to win a championship because you screwed up royally. The front office, Danny Ainge, screwed up, and you don't have the pieces to bring in to make this work at this point. And I'm going to be honest with you, Chris. Don't get me wrong. I've always been a fan of Chris Dunn. He played here locally in Providence. I loved Chris Dunn as a college player. He's got a history of injury. He needs to get healthy. If he's healthy, he's a distributor. He's a facilitator. He plays great defense. He can give you a solid 20 minutes, Chris, a game, probably off the bench. Not the lead guy, but he'd be a solid backup if you had that lead point guard. I think he's a great solid backup to give you 20 minutes a game, 15, 20 minutes a game at the point guard position. And he would help you against another team's backup point guard. But Chris, we don't have Marcus Smart's going to be your point guard right now.
And Mark, that would have been fantastic. You bring Ball in,
and
you
had Dunn off the bench. That would have been a great combination.
You know what? You can get rid of Dump Smart, get your money ready for Beal, because now you're talking about a situation where you have Ball, Brown, Tatum, and Beal.
Yes,
and Beal.
And now you got a shot to win something. Now you got a shot.
Because now you're trading for him.
Now you bring in a couple of ancillary pieces around the fringes, like these guys all bringing these one-year veterans, right? Yes. That are willing to play for a minimum just to try to win a ring, right? Now you're able to bring those guys in, and now you got a shot to compete, Chris, to win this whole thing. But
that's how.
I mean, look at the Lakers. Even the Lakers are bringing in, but even the Lakers are bringing in players. Everybody's bringing in players, but us. That's how screwed up, Chris.
Drummond signed a one-year deal today.
Chris, that's how screwed up our salary cap situation is, because you got all this goddamn dead money from all this nonsense that Ainge pulled off.
Yeah. Listen, you know how I feel about Marcus Smart. It's a joke. It's ridiculous.
You can't stand him.
And like you said, when last thing about Tatum, look, I told you this is a passive kind of guy. Unless he develops that, he's not. He needs other guys, and if you don't land Beal and you don't land a couple of these other big guys, Tatum's gone. Somebody's going to talk him easily into going. They may be trying to talk to him now on this Olympics.
Oh, I'm sure they are, Chris. I'm sure they are. I'm sure
that could be happening.
The other guy, Chris, that's still out there that I don't think they're going to make any decisions until I think the Olympics are over. There's still the possibility that Portland tries to move this kid Lillard out of there.
Yeah, but they're talking that the Celtics, are not going to be a real player on that. That he's going to have his eyes on other places. So yes, listen, if they can do it, fine. If they can do it, that's fine. But Tatum, look, that psyche's that's fragile. That's going to become extremely fragile. All right, and like I said, I'm watching these guys. They won today, the Olympic team, the Olympic men's team, but the effort, enthusiasm, and it's just more the same that we've seen with the Celtics. And it just goes one more thing about whether
Chris, what are these guys playing? They're playing for they're playing for the gold medal. I get it, right? But that's why we used to use amateurs. So in the grand scheme of things, Chris, with their brand that they sell and their marketing and their sneaker contracts and their commercials and the NBA championship, how important is a gold medal really important to these guys?
Well, I don't know.
I'm guessing maybe it is. I mean, that's why they're there, but I don't know, Chris.
I don't know, Mark. Should it be there? And that's, that brings us to our next segment. I had to let Joe put that on.
I don't know.
So yeah, Joe, I love the graphics. I love all of that. And here's and you heard a little bit of that Olympic tune, and it, this is a good time to get into that. So Olympics,
And again,
should they go? Shouldn't they go? And look, and by the way, this is sponsored by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal law firm. Allow us to be a voice. CorsoLawGroup.com. This little Olympic moment, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Mark, listen. Does anybody care in this country? Does anybody care?
Well, I mean, I think some people care. Well, you know what it is, Chris? The Olympics was a thing, Chris, when you think back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and I think even the maybe 80s, right? Maybe early 90s, I don't know, but media has changed. The communication has changed. The nature of between streaming and what's on TV and like the Olympics used to be nice. It was an amateurs would get together. Countries would come together, and there wasn't 5 million things to watch on television anymore. There wasn't all kind of sports, different sports on. There wasn't streaming this, that. So people would gather together as a family unit and watch the Olympics, and you know what I mean? It was just a different feel, a different era, a different culture in this country, Chris. And we've talked about this when we talk about the brand, some of these athletes, and it's more about the brand and how many sneakers can I sell and than it is about winning, right? And so I think that's in my opinion, has kind of transitioned into the Olympics. Like, what is the point of the Olympics anymore?
Have you how much have you watched of it?
I will tell you what I do watch. I have because of I'm on East
Fencing.
Coast time. Obviously, I'm on East Coast time. Fencing. What is wrong? What?
Hey,
the
listen,
heck is
I
wrong with you?
watched a little bit of that fencing. It's not. Listen,
Joe,
you get more
what's wrong
sword
with
fighting.
him, Joe.
Look, hey, I watched some of that fencing. You get more of that sword fighting on an Errol Flynn movie. If you want to go back, you go back to 1939 and watch
Errol
a Robin
Flynn.
Hood movie. You get
Errol
more
Flynn.
fencing
You're
than
gonna
you
have to
do.
take out your Turner Classic Movie T-shirt, Errol Flynn. Really?
And you get more sword play there than you do in this friggin' fencing. All they do is just go up, boom, stab, they start jumping around. Yay! But go ahead, Mark. What are you watching? What?
What did you have? You must have had about 7 cups of coffee today. Jesus.
Hell,
Yo.
I'm back. I'm back from the
Listen.
COVID brain.
Listen, you know what I do? You know what I have been watching, Chris? Believe it or not, at night I've been watching some of the track and field, the
Yeah.
100 meters, the 200 meters. Like that I think is interesting. When I say watch it, 20 minutes, and then I'm on to something else. But
Yeah.
I do watch it. I mean, and don't get me wrong, if the basketball team is playing, I will sit and try to watch the basketball game. But Christ, they're on at 1 o'clock in the morning.
That's just for critical purposes. That's just
it is for
tear into
critical
them, isn't it?
purposes. It is.
Mark, I listen though with the track and field, you're right, because you know that watching the 100, you're gonna see the fastest person on earth.
Yeah. So
Probably.
probably. That's what I watch. Right. That's what I watch.
And so
That's what I watch.
Table tennis, and I like the beach volleyball.
The beach volleyball is interesting. That's
I like
not
that.
bad.
But
I was
again-
with my family last week. I was playing beach volleyball on the beach. I threw my back out.
You know
I
what,
threw my shoulder
Joe?
out.
Why don't we have footage of that? You want to talk about a bridge? You want to talk about
we need.
coming into a segment? Okay, you know what, Mark? We'll have sponsors lined up from here to Rhode Island, looking to sponsor you on the beach playing volleyball. Everybody, close your eyes and take a mental image of that.
Listen, Chris. Listen. Hey,
So look, listen, Mark. Yes, you're right. It's like 10 minutes and out. 10 minutes and out. Same thing with swimming, the water polo. Oh, look. Here's the thing. So when you ask the question, should this just go away? I mean, is it over? Is it done? When I look at I've been asking myself.
Chris,
that question.
but you know what though, Chris? Let me say this. I don't mean to interrupt you. We're looking at this from the United States point of view. This is a world event.
Yeah.
And in these other countries, Chris, I think it is a big deal. It
Who
absolutely
the hell
is
else
still
are we
a big
going?
deal.
Perspective we're going to look at it from right now.
No. But I say that because that's why they'll never do away with it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying that.
Yeah,
The Olympics won't go away.
It means so much to so many. It means so much to so many other people around the world.
But you're right.
Maybe
Chris,
too.
but here, Chris, is it worth the United States putting all these teams in? You're right. Maybe you cut the team in half. Maybe you don't enter all these sports.
But Mark, I agree with you. With the landscape of the athlete has changed, and I think that's mattering. That's making a difference here. And the reason why is because you're looking at the athletes for the United States. Sometimes, in some occasions, not as enthusiastic as you would hope that they would be. I really came down on it last week, and the U.S. women's soccer team lost against Canada. How are they losing? I mean, really? You're going to lose? They haven't lost in years. It's like,
but if you're going to lose, Chris, you lost to Canada. Was Canada even that good? I would have thought they would have lost maybe to the Brazil or Argentina or something.
I don't know. I mean, I don't follow it close enough to know who the hell is good, but I can tell you this: the disinterest that you see, the lack of focus, the more attention that's put on the brand and put on the kneeling and put on the social message that needs to be put across, whatever it is. I mean, I'm not even commenting on that. I'm just saying that these things are the distractions the United States puts in that makes it maybe them a laughing stock around the world when it comes to the Olympics right now. And you got teams, you have athletes right now for the United States that should be winning gold that can't close. They can't finish. They're winning silver. You got athletes, bowing out. The best in the world in gymnastics out. Okay. I'm not commenting. Mental health issues, a very real thing. I don't know, but you're prepared forever for a 16-day run. And it isn't really 16 days for them, for each individual sport, and you bow out. So I guess the image, it's a bad look for the United States right now. So Mark, should the sports that like you mentioned gold medal, is gold medal the ultimate goal? If gold medal is the ultimate goal for that particular sport, then maybe it should stay and the rest of them should go, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, soccer, is soccer the ultimate? Is gold medal the ultimate for soccer?
No, they got the World Cup. They just had 2-3 weeks ago, Chris. Italy just won the Euro Cup. They hadn't won the Euro Cup in 50 years. It was like the biggest thing in Italy that they won the Euro Cup, the best team in Europe, right? That was their thing. They hadn't won in over 50, 60 years, Chris. They were going crazy in Italy. The Olympics, half those guys that are on that Euro Cup team, they're not even, if Italy's even got a team in the Olympics, those guys aren't even on it. They're on a beach somewhere celebrating still for winning the Euro Cup. They're not playing. They're not in the Olympics, those guys.
Right. And basketball is the same thing. I mean, most of these guys, there's so many pros in this NBA players on these teams. They want to win an NBA championship. This is not the ultimate. The gold medal's nice. It's good to have, but it's not the ultimate prize. Whereas in swimming, but even those sports now are starting to have international tournaments and meets and things like that, where those are edging out because sponsors are getting involved more. Everything, the money's better. Everything's better, so.
Although I will say, Chris, when Phelps was swimming, I did actually tune in to watch Phelps swim. Yeah. Because he just had the brand name. Michael Phelps was going for the record, right? He was going to try to break Mark Spitzer's record. I think that Olympics, Chris, I think people tuned in to see if Phelps could break the record because there was a storyline there. Could he break a record that people no one ever thought Mark Spitzer's record would ever be broken, and Phelps broke it, right?
Right. Yeah, and again, previous athletes have gained attention, but you're right, Mark. More social media, more outlets. So should the Olympics go? Should they stay? I don't know. But with you, Mark, I think the Winter Olympics, for some reason, there just seems to be a little more enthusiasm for it, doesn't it? Yeah,
there is. And I think maybe it's the time of the year, Chris. This is in the middle of the summer. There are so many things that people are doing. Kids are playing soccer. They're playing lacrosse. Families are going traveling. Families are running around with their kids at different sporting events. It's football. Families are playing.
Families are playing beach volleyball.
Yes, of course. Right? But listen, those games got pretty rough. They were rough.
I can't even imagine.
But my competitiveness, it got serious. But so
tell us. I want to know. Give me how it got. Tell us. I'm more interested. See, the Olympics are already. The Olympics are already on the back. Even in this show, the Olympics are on the back.
Chris, it got so competitive. I dragged my 77-year-old mother-in-law on the beach to play beach volleyball.
On your team or the other team?
No, the other team. I needed to win. She's out there like Bernie. She don't move. Come on. It was like weekend at Bernie's with her.
Listen, this Olympic moment was sponsored by Corso Law Group, brought to you by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal law firm, CorsoLawGroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. When we come back, have another little special segment. We're going to hear from Mark again, I'm sure. And we want to get into baseball. That's the sport that's in season right now. I think Mark is going to have a few things to say about the Yankees, Red Sox, and the trade deadline. More after this.
Special Sauce Podcast. You liking the song? The sauce is good, man.
This will start out as finance train them, trust them, and let them lead.
With your host, Marcus Aurelius.
It's that time again for a timeout for a message from one of our sponsors. No one ever thinks they will be in the need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people all across this great country who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. So whether it's a traffic ticket or if you need reduced DUI or more serious issues, call or go online to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help you. Corso Law Group.
Back in with more.
Oh, and that's me, Christopher, because I got
Sorry, Joe.
going on right now.
That's the time.
You know what time it is, ladies and gentlemen.
So
It is. This is the time. Hang on, Mark. This is Catone's comments. It's time. We got to get used to that sound. When we hear that sound, it's Catone's comments. And Catone's comments today are going to be brought to you by Joe. Why aren't I seeing this? Mountain View Home Watch and Security, Arizona's leading home watch and security firm. Mark.
So, Chris, Chris, for those of you that don't know, Chris went away a few weeks back to Florida, and so I'm going to have him jump in a little bit just to give us a little bit of insight into this.
This is Catone's comments.
It is Catone's comments, but it did what happened to you kind of triggered my memory a little bit. So, Chris,
Joe, they want all my secrets. He wants all my secrets to the public now.
Chris had a couple of issues on the plane going to Florida, but that made me think of planes just in general, right? And whenever I don't know how many of you have ever gone to Vegas, right? So when you go to Vegas, when you come back from Vegas, it should be complete silence on the plane. Nobody should ever speak on a plane coming home from Vegas. Now, you understand why. You're up late, you're gambling, you're drinking, you're smoking, you're doing whatever other degenerate thing you do in that city. Cigarettes, whatever you do in that city stays there, but it should be silent on the way home. Last time I went to Vegas, I was there with Chris's brother, and we were down all kind of money. We're on the crap table until, God knows, it's 8, 9 o'clock the following morning. We got to get on a plane at 11 o'clock in the morning. We got about an hour's sleep. We get on the plane. All of a sudden, we're on the plane. I'm with my wife. He's there with, I don't know what he was there with. I don't know. He's on the plane. All of a sudden, we just close our eyes. Bing! They come up on the loudspeaker. Hey, if you want drinks, you want this, da. Okay, shut up. We're trying to sleep. 5 minutes later, they want to play a goddamn game. They want to play a birthday game. Their passion change. Whose birthday is closest to this number? You keep the change. Their passion change a pile. His brother takes a pile of change. He's supposed to pass it to the person in front of him.
Change like nickels, dimes,
change,
quarters.
nickels, dimes, quarters. He throws it up right up the center aisle of the plane. He throws the goddamn thing. If this was before, I don't know how they didn't stop the ground the plane and arrest him. They looked at him like there was something wrong with him, right? So, no big deal. We finally get to Baltimore. We have to land in Baltimore. Weather's bad, this and that, turbulence. They canceled the flight. This goes on for hours. We got another flight to come home. Now I'm sitting there. Now I'm totally disgusted. My patience are shot. I'm sitting there. I haven't slept. I'm sweaty. We're separated. Nobody can sit near each other. I find a seat in the back of the plane. There's two people next to me. One guy's got his dirty feet out of his shoes up on the back of the chair. I can smell his feet. I told him, put your shoes on for Christ's sake. What do you think? You're in a zoo? Like the animals. The other lady, she's reading poetry out loud. She's reading it out loud. Now it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. We still haven't gone home yet. Now the plane is, I'm sitting on a runway for 45 minutes, maybe an hour. Finally, it's okay. We're going to take off. Everybody turn their lights off. We're finally going to get going. Fasten your seatbelts. Everything okay. Fasten my seatbelts. Turn the lights off. This woman's got a light on, still reading poetry.
Out loud?
Out loud to herself. So I looked at her, and I'm looking, and she's still reading. I said, you know what? Bink! I shut the light off. I said, that's it. No more noise. Lights off. Put the book away. That's it. Done. She turned the light back on. I went, bink! I turned it off again. So then I said, lady, I'm going to take that book from you in about 30 seconds. Please put the book under your seat. I said, I don't want to get rude in it, but please put the book away. Finally, she puts the book away. She said, oh, well, you're very rude. I said, okay, thank you. I'm very rude. I said, I'm trying to go to sleep. We finally end up in Rhode Island. Now I'm giving you the PG version of this story.
You know what? I don't think that needed to be
I'm
said.
giving you the
to
PG.
explain.
So, cut a long story short, anytime you go to Vegas, nobody should speak on a plane. Nobody. And that's one of the reasons why I hate flying, because it's always an adventure. There's always something. When one time I had a woman breastfeeding next to me, I had a kid vomiting in front of me.
Listen, the kid's
It's
got to eat.
unbelievable.
The kid has to eat. Joe, the kid has to eat.
I said to my wife, what is this over here?
I'm sure she put a towel over it, one of those things they use, to hide it, no?
You pump before you get on the plane in a bottle and give the kid the bottle. You're going to whip it out in the middle of the plane? What are you, nuts?
Well, okay, so
what about, Chris, you had a wonderful experience going to Florida.
Well, listen, I can tell you this. I will say this. If Joe, am I allowed to comment in Catone's comments at all?
Go for it.
It's
Corso Catone. Let's rock it out.
Look, listen, I will say that, yeah, if you're coming back from Vegas, yeah, there should be no talking, especially on a 5-hour, whatever it is, flight that you're on. And on top of that, Mark, you want to pick a game that deals with change. The fact that you have nickels, dimes, quarters in your pocket means you got your brains kicked in Vegas. And the last thing you want to deal with is a reminder that's the case, because there's nothing that folds in your pocket anymore, right?
Nothing.
So,
Nothing.
listen, I'm with Mark. I have to agree with Mark on this, everybody, because there's nothing worse on the planet than flying, okay? And I hope there's nothing worse to me than getting on a plane and flying. Mark, I mean, maybe I won't come in for the Tampa game. I don't know. We'll see.
Drive. You have to drive. You got to get here for the Tampa game. Drive.
But you know something, there is nothing worse. I don't mean just that. I'm talking about the entire process of flying. The whole thing. Getting in the car. No, packing. Putting all your crap into bags. Overpack, whatever it is. Getting in the car. Getting to the airport. Dealing with checking luggage and going through security and dealing with people and stupid questions they're asking, like, where's the Southwest gate? What do you mean, where's the Southwest gate? Go look at one of those big, huge, giant friggin' boards that tells you everything you need to know. Anyway, and Mark, let me ask you something. Am I a person? Do I seem, and this may be bad, Joe, you're going to yell at us. Do I seem like I'm an approachable person in, say, an airport setting? You coming up to me and asking me anything?
No, absolutely not.
So get to the airport, okay? The flight's at like 5 o'clock in the morning is this flight, okay? And I'm going across the country. I'm disgusted to begin with, okay? Not only that, because when I can't do a Corso and Catone. We've got a hiatus now. I don't want that. This is my, So I'm in the gate. I'm standing there. You know, there's people around. And, you know, first of all, you got that guy. You got that guy at 5 o'clock in the morning, okay, on his phone, talking to, I don't know, who are you talking to at 5 o'clock in the morning? Joe, this is going to be the rest of the show. Sorry, you opened up this can, Mark. Who are you talking to at 5 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, listen, that fax will be there. It'll be there in a couple of hours. Don't worry about it. Yeah, no, I'm in the gate area right now waiting to board. I'm going to board. And you know, but I can communicate on the plane too. So don't worry about them. Who cares?
5 o'clock in the morning. He's talking
Who
to his
cares?
He's talking to his mistress.
Who cares? Who cares? What you're doing, where you're going, and what you need to fax. I almost took this guy's phone and threw it out of one of the windows over there. You know what I mean? So this is how it began, okay, for me. Now we get on the plane, 5 o'clock in the morning, 5 a.m., mind you, okay? Get on the plane, and most people can sleep on I can't sleep on the plane. See, I get like motion sick. I got a problem with all that. So I can't go to sleep on a plane. I feel everything. So I just basically... I sit there. I don't do anything. I listen to some music, you know. I sit there like a normal human being that's got to be there for 2.5, 3 hours, whatever, right? Not up, going to the bath immediately. Boom, boom, up, going to the bathroom. The lady's telling everybody stay in your seats. Everybody get in your seats. It's time to go. Put the thing on. Boom. This lady gets up and walks to the back of the plane to use the restroom. You just got on the plane 30 seconds ago. You didn't take care of business. You didn't take care of that like that lady you're talking about. You didn't take care of that at the gate. I mean, you know, so okay, we get on the plane. Mark, we didn't even. So my family, they're sitting in the rows. They get all sit together. That's how nice they all get to sit together. And I'm by myself sitting in the aisle seat, right? Minding my own business. All I got is my little iPad, my phone, and the things in my ears, right? And I'm sitting there, okay? And here comes this lady, nice enough. Hi, can I sit there? Yeah. She sits down. She's got with her, you know, a giant size thing, okay, of iced tea. This had to be at least 64 ounces.
At 5 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah. You know where I'm going with this.
She's getting ready to fly the plane.
You know exactly where I'm going. You all know out there where this is headed, okay? So I'm sitting there and I'm saying it to myself. I'm texting my sister, who, you know, nobody's up, but I'm texting her just to give her a preview of what's to come. Because this happens every time I do anything, let alone fly. So we don't even get to, we're at 10,000 feet and you could turn your crap on, you know, that announcement, which happens what, Mark, like 2 minutes into the flight?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're not even at that point yet. The entire thing completely dumped over, and half of it's on me. Okay. So it's all because the seats are this big, right? So all of it's on my left leg, on my sneak. I just bought the sneakers. I'm going out of town. I buy a brand new pair of sneakers like I was 10 years old again. Go, you know, sticky, iced tea, right? So this happens now. My son is sitting in the aisle seat to my right, laughing his ass off. I mean, he can't laugh. He didn't have this much fun at Disney World. He laughed his ass off for 3 hours, okay? Then I'm sitting in a puddle of all this. Here comes the flight attendant with the cocktail napkins, Mark, okay? The cocktail napkins, handing me the cocktail napkins. What am I going to do with that? I need a mop. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting over there, and Joe, I'm sorry. I'm trying to make this shorter, okay? But you can't script this stuff, okay? So now, and the lady's sitting there, oh, you know, she's laughing about it. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, what Butterfingers. And I'm looking at her like, so, okay. So that happens. Now, the lady sitting to her left on the window seat. Now I start hearing this clicking sound, clicking. She's cutting her nails. Okay. She's cutting her nails, Mark, on the plane. Joe, on the plane. You're cutting your nails. These are things that are reserved for bathroom areas in your own home, stuff you don't need to be doing in 2 to 3 hours in this little period of time we're going to be together, right? So I'm hearing that. Things are flying everywhere. Next thing you know, the iced tea lady, okay, I was calling her Miss Lipton for the rest of the flight. She She starts to eat peanuts now. Now the mask comes off. They ain't gonna wear the mask on the plane, so everybody's got the mask on. Now the mask comes down, and she's eating peanuts, and Mark throwing them like the peanuts are flying all over the place.
Well, she had
So now I
peanuts. She had the peanuts with the shells.
No. But no, that's the thing. It was just peanuts, but the stuff was going all over the
What
place.
the
I
hell
don't know
was
what she
wrong
was
with?
doing.
What the hell was wrong with this woman?
So the peanuts are flying. I'm sticky. So now the peanuts and like the salt from everything's sticking to me now, right? So I'm sitting over there just as miserable as any human being could possibly be. Okay. We're about an hour out of Florida. And I hear this. I'm sitting there and I'm listening and I hear, I shut the music because I actually listen to the announcement because I don't know what they're going to say. Who knows what they're going to say these days? I hear the announcement come across. Is there a doctor? Is there a doctor on board the plane? And I'm like, perfect. I'm like, this is just fantastic. Now, anytime you've been anywhere where they make some sort of announcement asking for a doctor, there's
a problem.
Serious. Right? I mean, have you guys dealt with this before? Like, have you ever, had to deal with this kind of crap? Okay. So, and Joe, yeah, COVID moment, because this was before I realized I even had it. Maybe all this is a fog to me. But so, is there a doctor on board? So now this guy, here he comes walking up the aisle, up in the front. Now what they have is they take a blanket, they put it across the front of one of the they empty out the front seats, and it's an elderly lady, I think. They put this thing up, but you kind of can see around, and now he's working on her. He's doing something, okay? And he's moving. Things are flying. They're taking out first aid kits. They pulled out a headset and put it on this guy with the he looked like he looked like he was on the sideline talking to upstairs. Okay. I don't know. I can only assume he was talking to the captain who ain't coming through that door for any reason. Okay. No. That guy, I'm staying where I am too if I'm him. So he's got the thing on, he's doing this, he's making notes, he's writing things down. This is whatever's going on up there and now I'm thinking to myself, we're not going to land. We're not going to land where we're supposed to land. Like I'm immediately, that's because this is what probably a rotten human being that I really am, I guess. I start thinking we're not landing where we need to land. We're an hour away. We're 45 minutes away when this is going to happen. Right. Sure enough, here comes the announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize. The captain, that. Ladies and gentlemen, we just want to let you know, due to an unforeseen situation, blah, 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 we're forced to make a landing. There's nothing wrong with the plane. Everything's fine. We will get you back en route. We're not going to change planes, all this bullshit. And so now here we go, down to Jacksonville. We land, right? We land over there. Now we're sitting on the runway. Here comes medical people. They're pulling people on and off the plane. The lady, and I think she was okay. And here's how I know. She must have watched football before. Because on the way off the plane, okay, they had this little kind of mini sort of stretcher thing, She puts a thumbs up like this in the air, Mark. She puts a thumbs up to all of us. Like,
there you go.
Thank God.
Hey, the woman was good. She's all right. Hey, you should have clapped for her.
From the stretcher.
Yeah. So that was on the way down there. And then on the way back, I had COVID. So, I mean, I didn't feel good anyway. So that's what happens when I fly, Mark. You opened up the can. So
Chris,
for both of you.
We got more stories on planes. Forget it, please.
This one's for both of you.
Soon as I get home, the first thing I'm gonna do is punch your mama in the mouth. Don't you know?
Yeah, listen, but one of the greatest movies, Smokey and the Bandit, one of the greatest movies and the best role of all time. I'm telling you, Joe, you can't make this stuff up. And the whole time that's happening, you can text, from the plane now, right?
Oh, Joe, he texted me from the plane when this was going on.
And all I can hear back, he wasn't surprised. He's saying, yeah, well, that makes sense. It's you.
Yeah,
it's you. Why do you even get on a plane anymore?
Oh, by the way, Chris, you forgot when you landed, there was a tropical storm hurricane also hitting.
Oh, yeah, well, okay.
That's another issue.
Do we really want to hear that story right now?
That one for next week.
No, you want to save that for next week?
COVID.
Listen, people.
Like Chris Corso.
Listen, people. Okay. if anybody's, I'm sure people probably shut it off by now, right? But listen, if anybody understands, will come to understand, nothing went well on this trip. Not one. It did. It was rough, rocky.
Chris,
From the moment I got up in the morning to the moment I stopped having COVID, like a week ago. Okay?
Chris, you're like Eddie Mush from the Bronx Tale. You're Eddie Mush.
I decided to
Eddie
go.
Mush from the Bronx Tale.
Yeah, I decided to go away, and 1 month later, I recovered from the trip. So that was Catone's comments with Corso mixed in, thrown in. I promise you, moving forward, I will not dominate the Catone comments. But Mark, you know, that's amazing. And that was brought to you by Mountain View Home Watch and Security, Scottsdale's leading home watch and security firm. So Mark, listen, we have a little bit time left. I want to talk about baseball because we went way off the tracks here. So Yankees
way off the tracks here.
Way off the tracks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. Mark, talk about trade deadlines.
So
I know
just
people
quickly,
are pissed off.
I know we're way over, but so
It's all right. Go ahead.
I think as Red Sox fans, I think you're going to be a little bit upset that you didn't make more moves. I mean, I think we talked about this the last show, Chris, that the Red Sox were in position, I think, to make a run to try to win something just because of the way this year is developed. But they couldn't make that one big move. I mean, people thought they were going to be in on Scherzer. Supposedly Scherzer said he would not go to the American League East. He would block any trade to the American League East. He has a no trade clause. And then everyone assumed that they were getting Anthony Rizzo. And then the Yankees jumped in with a prospect that they really don't need, Alcantara, the outfielder. They really don't need him because they have enough outfield prospects. And they swooped in and stole him because Dave Dombrowski, when he was with the Red Sox, basically dismantled their farm system to win a World Series, which was, great. They won a World Series. They beat the Dodgers that year. But he basically gave away the farm system to put the pieces together to win that World Series. So now they didn't have what it took to even bring in a guy like Rizzo. They go get Schwarber, who's still hurt. So who knows what he'll give him?
Scherzer. I mean, they were going to make
and
a play.
Schwarber,
Like
who knows what this guy Schwarber will give the Red Sox. So I think as a Red Sox, if you're a Red Sox fan, you can't be too happy because you're in position to make a run, and you didn't bring in extra pieces. On the flip side of that, the Yankees, well, geez, you go get Rizzo, you go get Joey Gallo, you bring in a couple of bullpen people, but the Rizzo trade, I mean, instantly, and I said this to you, Chris, before the trade deadline. I said someone's going to get Rizzo a playoff team, and he's going to be put in a new situation, and he's gonna put numbers up because the kid's a winner. And guess what? He's putting numbers up. The kid's a winner. And we talked about it. I just thought it would be with the Red Sox. I didn't think that the Yankees would get him. I mean, I give Cashman a little bit of credit there. He went out and made a couple of moves to try to win this thing, or at least get the wild card and get into the playoffs at least. I still don't think they can win the division, but I definitely think they're in playing out for the wild card. So we'll see what happens. Don't get me wrong. I still think Boone and Cashman both should go at the end of the season, but Cashman might have saved his job if they get into the playoffs, Chris, with bringing in those pieces. But Boone's still going to go. But the Yankees, Chris, I think it's going to be interesting if Severino comes back. I mean, now Garrett Cole's got COVID, so who the hell knows, right? But how long he'll be out. But I think the Yankees now have pieces to at least get into the playoffs and then see what happens. Whatever happens, right? You got to get in. You got to get in to have a chance.
They did things to give themselves a shot, and I agree with you. If it saves anybody, it saves Cashman. Boone's got to go.
Boone's got to go.
But what the moves they made? Look, I'm encouraged as a Yankee fan for the moves they made. Period. And Mark, on the flip side of that, because we are the New England, station, the real deal, right? Yeah. So you're talking about a team that was leading the American League. Okay, now they're a game and a half back for the best record. Okay, they're a game up. The game down on Tampa now in the division.
They're losing tonight.
And so, and New York, conversely, as you say, they got to 5.5. They're back to 7 now. But we talked last week about New York saying, listen, that the way Boone butchered that Boston series, that 9 games becomes 5 instantly. And you know what? It did. It did because of the moves. Can you imagine if he didn't butcher what he did? They'd be 3 games back. Listen,
they'd be 3 games back.
it isn't just the fans that are pissed off right now, because this is a baseball town, you know? That's it. It's a baseball region. People love the Red Sox. Not only the players, the fans pissed, the players are pissed off, and you can see it. Bogarts, you can see the kind of weekend they had after these moves were made by the Yankees and other clubs, and Boston the players saw that they weren't going to do a damn thing to improve that team, to put them over the top, to make that run that they could very, very. I told you last week and every week's leading up, Boston's in play. They're in play against the National League, and they're in play in the American League. I don't know
if they're in play in the National League anymore. Now that the Dodgers got Scherzer and Trey Turner from the
even in
Washington.
even in their own division.
No, they are, because they're still in play in the American League, I think. Well, they were.
Now, the thing that's surprising to me, okay, is the surprise of the players and the fans. Because look, Chaim Bloom, okay, we talked about this so many times. This guy is a small market guy. You know, he builds his farm system. He builds his trade bait. He builds the team. He's a role guy, a role team kind of player, kind of GM, right? The role player kind of guy. That's what he brings on the team. He's wired that way. This guy's a robot. And you can hear it in his press conferences since the deals have been made, where he's basically saying, look, if we see a deal out there that we think is good, we're going to make that deal. But otherwise, we're in for the long haul. It's like somebody plugged them in. He's like a robot saying that stuff because that's how this guy's wired. He's wired to be that way. Why the hell are we surprised by that? Why is anybody in Boston surprised that they didn't make a move? We saw that. We could have seen that. You and I talked about them trying to get Rizzo.
Chris, he knows what he's doing.
Well, I mean,
as far as big picture, long term, you're right, Chris. Long term, he knows what he's doing,
but he doesn't know what he doesn't know what he's doing for a $200 million team. Now, listen, he may have gotten the word from ownership to say, look, you're not going over the. I don't care how close we are right now. You're not going over that luxury tax. You're not doing it this year.
Yeah.
We'll do it in a couple of years, but we're not doing it now. Now, maybe that's the case. Well, you know why,
Chris? Because I think they've so far exceeded expectations this year that I don't think they have to blow through that luxury tax this year. Because I think the fan base is happy with what they've got. If they get into the playoffs, even if they get knocked out in the first round, people thought they were going to be a 70, 80 win team.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but Mark, listen, Pete, then you're not assessing your fan base very well, because you know full well. Look at the reaction right now, and even from your players. Look, these players have they put everything in so far. You're right. They've gone over. They're playing above their abilities right now, and they're doing it for a reason. And then you go and basically pop the bubble, okay, by doing this. But you're not assessing. They're not assessing their friggin' fans if they think that these people that adore the Red Sox and baseball, okay, didn't get a taste of the fact that they're in first place. Mark, they've forgotten that. They've forgotten how they felt in March about we're not going to be much this year. If you listen to anything that's going on in New England right now, those thoughts are gone. Their thoughts are, we're going to win the World Series. We're going to win the World Series. And now that they don't make a move, the people are pissed. The players are pissed. I don't know, Mark. Let's see if they can hang on, right?
Yeah, let's see. Well, I think they'll hang on to a playoff spot, Chris. I don't know. Tampa may ultimately win the division, but I think the Red Sox will at least get a wild card. I think they
have two.
There's two wild cards. There's two wild. No, they're not doing the play-in. But there's two wild card teams definitely. So they'll get one of those spots.
Well, listen, they should have done something to appease somewhere. But maybe they have a long-term plan. I don't know. So Boston fans, listen. Hang in there. Remember back to March when you figured this is a dead season. This is a throwaway season. All of them, the flagship, everybody. Yeah, not going to be anything. There it is. There, that, the other thing. You were the old guy. You were the guy that came out in April and basically said before they even began and basically said, look, that's a team that's scrappy. That's a team that if they can pitch okay, they can maybe do something. I'm the one who was talking about Renfroe and these guys and talking about, hey, what's the matter with them?
Listen, bottom line is this too. Let's not forget this all goes back, and you've been saying this, Chris, all year. It goes back to the manager. He's just he's a scrappy guy. The guy's just a good manager. In on the flip side, we got a bum with the Yankees. He's a bum.
And they're going to have to do something about that. So when we come back, want to get to our final word. I know we went crazy today talking about our flying experiences. Hope you enjoyed it. But when we come back, our final word, more after this.
It's the Special Sauce Podcast. You lacking the sauce. The sauce is good, man.
Some startups, finance, train them, trust them, and let them lead.
With your host, Marcus Arias.
It's that time again for a timeout for a message from one of our sponsors. No one ever thinks they will be in the need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people all across this great country who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. So whether it's a traffic ticket or if you need reduced DUI or more serious issues, call or go online to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help you. Corso Law Group.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, and we're getting to our final word. Mark.
Chris, my final thought and my final word is I'm so thoroughly disgusted at this point with this whole quarterback competition or lack thereof. I mean, to me, Belichick is talking out of both sides at this point. I mean, before camp starts, he says every position on the field, it's, training camp's about competition and everybody's got to fight for their position and everyone's got to fight for a job. And after practice 5, he's saying that Cam Newton's a starting quarterback. So you can't have it both ways, Bill. You know what I mean? It's either a competition or it's not a competition. So after the 5th practice, you're saying that Cam Newton is your starting quarterback? What the hell's that about? Really? Come on, I'm disgusted. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
And listen, for me, listen, we did a lot of bashing on the Olympics today, whether they should take it away permanently and that kind of thing. Listen, hang in there with it, okay? When I watch the Olympics, I can't help to feel, and maybe it's my age, but I can't help to feel the red, white, and blue, the pride. Looking at that American flag, hearing that anthem, okay, played as many times as it has. I wish it'd be played more, but it just makes me feel good. It makes me feel good to know and to see the introduction of the U.S. team coming into the stadium as if we arrived. And that feeling of this is who we are and that arrogance that we should have, in my opinion. And the big announcement that was made for the United States to walk in that stadium. So you know what? Hang in there with them. Hang in there with them. Let's see it go on. It's a simple time. It brings you back to a more simple time where you can root for young people to do well and see how enthusiastic some of them are about representing us. So hang in there with that. So Mark, and don't fly. Nobody fly anymore. That's it. Just stay off the planes. Mark, some people to thank tonight. We want to thank the good people over at Special Sauce Podcast. Log in, go on specialsaucepodcast.com. Take a look at all their previous shows. Excellent. Good people over there. We've had Marcus Aurelius on our show and look forward to having him on again. Jag Media Productions. Everything you see here is brought to you by Jag Media, and it's fantastic. Joe did a great job. Studio 42 Designs. Studio42designs.com for all your graphic design needs, and it is designs with the S and the 4 and the 2 in the website. Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal law firm. Allow us to be your voice. CorsoLawGroup.com. Log in. And Mountain View Watch, Home, and Security, Scottsdale's leading home watch and security firm. Want to thank Joe Guarnieri, again, our producer, director. Joe looked good tonight, jumped on you a little bit here and there, so we'll clean that up next time. And listen, tune in next week, our normal time, like tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern. We're going to have more on training camp.
Chris, isn't next week our first preseason game, Thursday night?
Next week is, yeah, it is, and that's going to be on, let's give the people the right date. That's going to be on the 12th, and I believe it's a 7 o'clock Eastern time kickoff.
It is.
And we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about that on the 10th, next Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern. We're going to have a little preview of that preseason game, talk more about the QB battle Interested to hear Mark's comments, and we'll get back into Celtics and, of course, talk Red Sox a little bit more. So, for Mark Catone, Joe Guarnieri, I'm Chris Corso. So long, everyone.